So the part 2 of the video, we're going to cover the methods and the background information. I always like starting with methods, my methods section for the bulk of the paper, because the methods section is really typically kind of formulaic, and it really lays out all the research that you did, keeping in mind that you want to keep your research process transparent for others. And for this project in particular, it's going to be on the easier side, hopefully, for you to write, and I'll tell you about that in a second. And then we'll move on to talking more about the background information. So in terms of the method section, it should be about 1 to 2 pages long. It's important in sociology, we always include a method section so that your reader knows how you went about your research. And if you remember from Unit 2, our Unit 2 readings, they all had method sections. The quantitative articles talked about their variables, the qualitative articles talked about their research process. So this is a practice that we do in sociology. However, due to time constraints here and the pandemic, I'm going to provide you with a fill-in-the-blank method section in a Word document. I was going to spend one of our class times talking about participant observation methods. We were going to work on writing a method section together and kind of working on that, but we are just out of time. So rather than cut out the method section in full, I'm giving you kind of more than an outline and allowing you to copy paste that into your paper and just fill in the details. So there might be sentences that you don't have the information, so you should omit those sentences entirely. And all the fill in the blank parts are in all caps. So let's look at that really quickly so that you know what I'm talking about. All right, so when you open the document that's posted underneath this video, this is what it's going to look like here. So you see that I've already included the header of research methods, I should say the subtitle there, and then you can see all of these different all caps. So I'll just read like the first sentence. The data for this research project come from a virtual observation of name of congregation, so of Trinity Lutheran Church, including an in-depth reading of their website and email with name of person. Now, if you didn't email with anyone, you should omit that part of the sentence. So just edit this according to the information that you have in your specific location. I've got some notes here in parentheses. So make a note if you can tell it would otherwise be different. So maybe they do stream their services, or maybe they post a recording. Maybe you can't tell, so maybe you don't need to do that. If you talked about someone or talked with someone, I've got an email in here or a sentence in here for what you can say, or an alternative if you emailed them but they didn't respond to you, and then some more of the information about the particular congregation and where it's located. So the last point on this slide is that you don't have to do this, of course. I have linked 4 articles on Sakai, that sociology articles that all use participant observation, and you could read those method sections and develop your own section for methods, and that is perfectly fine too. All right. The last one here, background information. So this should be about 2 to 4 pages, and it should be organized with subheadings. You should be revising assignment 3, including some of the information here, maybe all of it, as long as it's not too much, not too overwhelming, and following any feedback advice I give you. So you might want to include, if you have it, the historical roots of the congregation and or denomination and or religion. Now, take for example, if you're doing a non-denominational church, that's going to look very different from you. You might touch on the non-denominational movement, Christianity in general, but you're not going to have any sort of official denomination. You might be getting most of your information from the church's website. We're all getting virtual information right now too. We're all pretty limited on this section. We're just going to do our best with it. I would say use the ARDA as much as you can. You might be exploring the cultural side of the religion, especially thinking in terms of symbols, beliefs, and rituals. This might be especially important if you're going to talk about it in your findings section. So really setting up the reader, setting up yourself as you prepare for your congregation visit. So this might be a big part of your background information as well. And then you might include some data. So data might involve demographic information of people in the US who are members of the religion. You might also include international data. I think that's optional here if it makes sense for your paper. Might make sense if there's like a lot of folks from that religion, or if it was brought, where the religious denomination originated from. That might be more interesting to include that. And then data about the prominence of the religion in the US. So all of this type of stuff should come from the ARDA. I think, like I said, we're going to be pretty limited on what we can find, probably relying heavily on the resources in the ARDA, the congregation's website, and possibly the denomination's larger website. If that's all you can find, use that. And we're, just do your best here to gather as much background information as you can. So I would advise you to, as you're working on your paper, if you've already done your field visit, if not, you should probably do your field visit before you do your method section. And then after your virtual visit, do your method section, and then work on revising your background information section. And then when you're ready, move on to part 3. That's going to involve the findings, which is really the meat of the paper.